a response to Stardusk's escape velocity and his newest video, his views on MGTOW. I appreciate everything he has to say, I always have. I also appreciate him considering certain ideas. His concept of returning to the plantation, to synthesize escape velocity in his most recent video, explaining MGTOW or concerning MGTOW or going in a certain direction. Whatever evidence there may be to show that two-parent homes are better than single-parent homes, and his desire to explore new ways of structuring society, reproductive society, in a way that will go to a type 1, type 2 civilization. Hey man, I appreciate the fact that we should all entertain new ideas. I'm just not exactly sure what societal structure would best accomplish the interstellar goal, the intergalactic goal. Yeah, I'm not that smart. It's not my field. Again, this is really not my field. But to go to my point-by-point response to Stardusk's escape velocity video. And I do have this scripted, and so here we go. Commentary on your escape velocity opener. Interesting preamble, interesting setup. Fair enough. After hearing your whole lecture, your discussion on the family unit does not conclude with a clear suggestion, sir. I interpret your whole thought on this specific idea to conclude with the current amalgamation of the 5 of the 7 semi-mating strategies to continue with just the selection criteria refocused to intellectual traits. I appreciate that. That's fine. Just continue doing what we're doing, and think about how men are selecting which females to mate with. Fair enough. I've been doing that my whole life, man. So mission accomplished there. As for your question about the nuclear family, it is benefit to the civilization relative to producing intelligent children. The monogamous system, however serial, encourages both partners to attempt to select and or attract the best possible mate available to them at that time. Best possible being qualified by traits you criticize later in your lecture. But generally, height, symmetry, and clarity of skin indicate good food acquisition, either by self or parents, good cellular replication, and good immune system functioning, respectively, all of which infer, if not positive developmental traits, at least no negative dysfunctional developmental traits. Desirable in both males and females. Height combines several positive benefits, like more efficient food use, more internal space for the fetus to develop, and better heat exhaustion. Symmetry implies more robust cellular functioning, better DNA replication, fewer mutations or errors reproduced, as well as resistance to later mentioned environmental factors on methyl groups. Clear skin is related to better MHC complex functioning, MHC being major histocompatibility complex functioning, which is responsible for immune system competency and functioning, thus leading to better survival of offspring and less effect of diseases and parasites on the physiological and neurological development of the children. These 3 basic qualities already factor into human intelligence and development, thus why we already select for them. In general, though, It is thought that the Red Queen hypothesis drives mate selection and ultimate group evolution, and all the other qualities stem from this basic battle among multiple species in a region. Uh, you do have a point about intelligence selection, though, but it is mostly already addressed in current theory and practice, just not realized by most. Uh, you may be suggesting a sort of hyper-evolved or consciously guided intelligence selection system. That's fine, I have no problem with that. But in general, the current paradigm suggests an already intelligence-driven system. Now, however people qualify intelligence, ultimately, though, most people agree immune system functioning, Red Queen hypothesis, is probably the system that we're operating on. Intelligence is just a byproduct, but it is probably the second most selected trait in general, selected for after immune system competency, after immune system functioning, which makes sense. You no point in being smart if you get sick and die all the time. I love your views on memes. Have read and had similar thoughts. Don't really know a lot about it, so I will not say much. Spearhead technology can be considered a meme, like what do you call it? Arrowheads and etc. And this meme can be used as a good example relative to human evolution and the evolution of human civilization and subsequent environmental domination. I have mixed feelings about Dr. Michio Kaku, and humans will be lucky to master even Type 1 civilizations. Not really my field, so I'm moving on. I will say that I am mostly, as you say, a traditionalist. I believe, especially when dealing with biology and biological systems, that if it ain't broke, don't fix it. If you are stating that the system is currently broken, well, broken for an end that we did not evolve in or to, it's possible. We evolved on the Earth for simply surviving in earthly systems. You are positing a solution to a problem that may or may not even exist, but I do not object to your proposed solution of selecting for intelligent women. It is unlikely to do any harm. The Chinese trying to discover intelligent gene complexes in my bulleted note list of a rant. I am offended to my moral core that the Chinese are even attempting to do this in such a eugenic fashion. I agree with your goal that personal independent free choice, personal independent mate selection criteria should be used as opposed to a state-funded and state-dominated research project. It is offensive. It just offends me that the Chinese are doing such a thing. But moving on, the scientist, quote unquote, that was tricked, that offends me too. They duped him into donating to a project that in hindsight he wouldn't have donated to. This project is due to blow up in the faces of the Chinese people and government due to other gene complexes that are grouped with chosen complexes and their other developmental functions. We won't get into it. Yes, certain gene complexes are in certain sections and certain chromosomes. When you select for one, you're also inadvertently selecting for others that you may not want, that may be why those positive gene complexes weren't hyper selected for in the first place, right? Like right next to a certain gene that's beneficial for, let's say, quick learning or or eidetic memory would be a gene complex that's associated to cancer propensity or mental illness or madness of some kind. Yes, it's been often noted that no genius has never existed that wasn't at least touched by a bit of madness. Yes, you may get someone who's super smart, but also super ambitious, crazy, homicidal, maybe. I don't know. We could go into Star Trek and the whole, Wrath of Khan idea. The idea of state-guided reproduction is outrageous to me. On the other hand, I support your stated goal of selecting smarter women. Again, I stopped at 110 after watching your video for the third time. I tried to pick back up real quick. So here we go. I have nothing of importance to add to your statements about shared group genetic factors. There is plenty of data to support the idea that race matters a bit. In general, though, the government should attempt to treat all citizens equally. It is at least a good idea. But yeah, race does matter. Generally, though, it probably won't necessarily kill you. I will say there's a lot of evidence to support the reason why African American populations suffer such poor health effects is not just because of their socioeconomic status and relative to the foods they have access to, but also the effects of those foods on their specific biological systems. Yes, European culture has a cheese culture because they have lactose tolerance. Lactose tolerance is actually improbable. The vast majority of humans on the planet are lactose intolerant by the time they're adults. It's rare. It's unusual that European populations have lactose tolerance throughout most of their adult life. This is why European culture has cheese culture, dairy product culture. The effect of dairy product culture on all non-European peoples is probably detrimental. Yes, I agree with you that shared group genetic factors, race matters a bit. I mean, it's not going to kill you. You can make certain dietary choices to sort of avoid that. I agree, eliminate all hardcore political affiliations and ideological thinking. I have also found that putting sex second in one's life makes one's life happier, but dang, it's a hard thing to put out of one's mind sometimes. As one gets older, it becomes easier. The search for knowledge and truth should be the most important part of a man's life, but to say that enjoying beers and blowjobs doesn't enable greater concentration on such topics is just not true. Also, the search for knowledge and truth does not exclude the possibility of beer and blowjobs. They are not mutually exclusive. I agree on most entertainers being superfluous. But an escape from reality is sometimes what people need. The fashion industry does employ a lot of people. Do they employ them well? No. But it is better than them just sucking down air and pumping out children. But yes, we should all encourage an economy driven by driving towards knowledge and not stuff. I don't know how shoes. Women wear high heels because they want to look more attractive to men. They want to look taller. They want to have their butts look firmer. It kind of all goes back to them wanting to be more attractive so they can attract a better mate. We've been through this. Yes, agreed. It would be nice if all those fashion industry workers were maybe doing something else. I don't know. Making computers. I don't know. It's a good idea. so I won't knock it. Um, yes, the fashion industry does tend to make overpriced wastes of resources. Odd you mentioned the Coca-Cola Corporation. The Coca-Cola Corporation was just looking at my LinkedIn account the other day. Strange you mentioned them. They were perusing my resume completely unsolicited. That strange. I have nothing against Coke. I like the corporation as a business. Yes, profit for profit's sake is purely for the ultimate end of attracting women and not acquiring knowledge. Yes, it seems as if all of life is focused on just acquiring sex. Shopping malls, um, almost anything, even sporting events, almost anything can be linked to sex or attracting sex or sexual acquisition. As any biologist will tell you, yeah, that just makes sense, man. Whether it's good sex, whether it's productive sex, whether it's beneficial sex, that's another question. But yeah, I mean, any biologist would tell you, it just makes sense, man. I mean, I liked a pianist tinkling on the piano. Was that a joke, sir? um, Large minorities of doctors like to help others and save lives. The status and wealth tend to be just side effects. But yes, I say large minorities. The majorities of doctors do it for the money, and the money and status are ultimately for the pussy. I've met far too many doctors who were just going to med school for money. Why? So they could fuck pussy. I mean, yeah, it's kind of shitty. Stay away from those doctors. Again, dude, I love Coca-Cola and Dr. Pepper, but yes, they are not good for people in general. Hey, a little sin here and there is not so bad. Short-term profit should never be a goal. If anything, it should be long-term profit. This sort of gaming the financial system is leading to its own self-destruction. It's short-term profit. That's like short-term satisfaction. Impulse control. It's indicative of criminal, mentally ill behavior. Exploitative, sociopathic, narcissistic, solipsistic, uh, selfish, short-term gain, leading to long-term destruction. Anybody who's studied addiction or mental illness will clearly see the effects of having a disproportionately high number of CEOs and stockbrokers and corporate types with narcissistic, sociopathic, Machiavellian, sadistic tendencies. The effect of their disproportionate representation in those populations is clear. It's clear. There's that Rudolph guy, etc. It's clear. The dung beetle discovery is a clue to an even greater mystery, in my opinion. Understanding it better will lead to a greater understanding of a greater truth. You were correct on this, sir. It is so odd. It is so fundamentally mysterious that it brings to mind just ideas of certain kinds of navigation and travel that are yet understood. Ideas of spaceships that have been designed to have living brains that are similar to insect brains and that can guide themselves in a galactic or even intergalactic sense is, well, just fantastic. Smart should be considered sexier. If you look at the data, substantial minorities of people have always found smart to be sexy. Some anthropologists and biologists would argue that smart has always been sexy. It's just sort of well, it can be said at least that for a minority of the human population, smart has always been sexy. So there you go, Stardusk. Thank you for considering my ideas. Thank you for listening to me. And I hope that addressed some of your other ideas back and forth there. I tried to stick mostly to my fields. I hope it gave you some important data. And then there you go. Yours truly, brother. M.